Hey, podcast fans. It's a view from the other bench with the QMJHL Commissioner Mario Cecchini. You came from the Quebec market in the Montreal Alouettes, more specifically. I guess the CFL's had issues trying to grow their game as it gets more into TV and social media and stuff like that. As you're competing with grocery money and fans getting younger, what are you going to try to do with the younger generation to keep them up in terms of like us podcasts and league wide and stuff like that?
Well, I think we're doing it now. First of all, I think that type of communication with the new ways, and they're less and less new. But I'm saying like trying to reach that younger audience, if you will, in many different facets. So that's a challenge already. And mind you, um, you will also hear us use traditional media because sometimes I have a media background. So for me, it's hard to answer that question without being a bit technical. But it's we over exaggerate the hype of social media and we downplay or we overplay the downfall, if you will, of traditional media. Ask anybody who does a TV interview or radio interview, he's getting some text messages afterwards. So it still works, is my point. But we have to just be aggressive in a good way on every platform that's out there that's available and reach the kids where they are. It's challenging, but we have to start, and we will start that soon. You will hear some form of advertising out of the league, which the league has never done. So that's a first this year. It's coming up in January or Feb or something like that. So I won't throw the punches away. But then also, I think we have to work on our with the teams. When I say we, that's a team responsibility. But the league has to play a role in supporting them, bringing ideas together, sharing good practices of the famous fan experience, the in bowl experience, making sure that kids want to come back. Basically, that's the driver. If they come back, if they tell their parents, "I want to come back," it was an enjoyable afternoon, well priced, not overpriced, not underpriced, but well priced, and making sure that they leave here with a big smile. That's our job.
Yeah, and you've seen it with some of the other teams, like Chicoutimi's got one, Quebec's got one, Cape Breton now is a podcast. So you kind of see teams kind of building towards younger fans.
And if I may, we've changed our communications director. We hired a new person called Raphaël Doucet, which hopefully you have met, or he will reach out. Um, I don't know if you notice, but his title as content producer in there also. So, and it's going to be content that's going to be available to you guys. So it's not to, in sort of internal journalist, if you will, but to produce tons and tons of videos and audios and articles that you can build on, that you can use if you want. So you'll see the league much more active producing that type of content also.
And just piggybacking off Adam's question, when you were president of the Alouettes, I think I read somewhere where the attendance increased by 5,000 per game or something like that. So what can you
25%.
There you go. So what can you as a commissioner do for the league to get more butts in the seats? Because let's be honest, some teams are still trying to recover from the pandemic.
Well, you heard my numbers of the attendance, right? So at least we're all on the right path versus last year. Well, the first thing I got to do is get out of the way as a commissioner of those who do it right. And I say that no joking. That's important. So we're not here to impose ways. We're here to make sure that those who do it well, the ideas they have circulate very rapidly. We're really starting to sort of have that on the ice. Everybody competes. Off the ice, it's total collaboration. On the business side, on the admin side, on the marketing side, we totally have to collaborate and bring the league at another level that way. What we can do, though, is make sure, and back to a little bit of your question about, let's call it the image of the league, with lack of a better term, that everybody, when you read that logo, you feel good. You want to join it, you want to play in it, you want to go watch it. And that's many, many, many little things. And we want to make sure that we communicate properly what we do. And we always will need to improve on that because there's so many things that the team does, that the league does, that is good for the kids and slash the community. So I think that's what we can do.
So when you talk about getting fans in seats, fans want to see the best players come through. And obviously the Quebec teams play the Maritimes just twice a year, once at home, once at away. And I've always wondered if there is an ability to have 3 times where they play 2 one time, one on the road and they switch it up, or try and have a more balanced schedule between the conferences, the East and the West. And I know travel is a big thing, and weather is a big thing when you get into the winter. But I've always used the analogy, like Gabriel Dag, Victoriaville was the first overall pick. He's only been here twice. He's been fortunate to play here twice, but fans might not get to see the number one overall pick if he's the backup goaltender. So is there a chance that you can maybe balance out the schedule so at the end of the year you don't get those lower matchups in the division and try and get more fans to see more Quebec teams? Because that's kind of what Maritime teams like to see.
The calendar is probably the hottest topic right now. Where we'll end up, I literally have no idea. This decision will be made in a month from now at the board in terms of the, when I say the how do you say, sort of the structure of the schedule. Everybody is striving to have a better schedule or a more attractive schedule, a perfect schedule. And I don't know if I can use some vulgarity on the podcast, but we joke internally, kids, close your ears, that when everybody is equally PO'd is when you've done a good schedule. Because even when I was president of the Alouettes that you refer to, you're never happy with your schedule. The other team has more days rest. We have more 3-on-3s. There's always something that goes with the availabilities of the buildings. It's really it's hard. There's some issues that you cannot get around to. You have to just say, listen, it's not that bad. If when as a GM, if you say it's not that bad, and most of them say that, then we're good. So so that's on the large scale. On the smaller scale, like issues like you mentioned and all that, that's in the works. So everybody's recuperating a bit better now versus COVID. So cost could be less of an issue moving forward as we build revenue. So it's up to us to do the right thing. So actually cost and travel doesn't become an obstacle. After that, though, you have to look at, say, okay, guys, I mentioned the schedule of the players. They are athlete students. They don't play in the NHL yet. So we have to be mindful of that also. So that all these things that come together. So do I see short-term huge changes? Probably not. When I say short-term, I mean next year. But as I said, we are initiating a lot of conversations on many topics, because I know that some going to come around in 3-4 years, others in 5 years, others never, and others maybe boom, boom, boom next year. So that's how we look at things. So is it possible? Probably possible. Does it have to be totally balanced? Are we allowed to say I'll give you an example that's not necessarily linked to our league, but on the CHL level. I would have loved to have Connor Bedard come and play a game in Moncton last year. So when we have an exceptional player, which we wish him well, he got hurt, we should showcase the CHL that way, you know. So in order to do that, we need to leave some room in the calendar, because some exceptional players don't necessarily deliver the promises, so we have to be careful. And there's also maybe sometimes places for, look at what the NBA does. You know, it's exciting. So is there ideas we can look at that we can throw around, bounce around, and have some form of mid-season, say, and so that could be interesting. And obviously, since I'm in Moncton, you guys are fully aware, we have part of the calendar is the prospect game that is coming here. You know, there's great interest. I know the tickets are going rather rapidly, but I'm told there's still some, so don't miss that. We'll probably have a fifth Q player, in the game, so that's just make it a bit more interesting. But you'll get to see the best players of our global CHL league, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned.
You tell me if I talk too much.
No, it's okay. You mentioned throwing around ideas. We saw the launch of the Professional Women's Hockey League on the 1st of January, and their jailbreaker rule is something that maybe could be a future QMJHL thing, where if you score shorthanded, the penalized player can leave the box. It would obviously have to be a CHL change, but would that be something you'd be in favor of?
Well, I certainly would entertain that idea. I'm not against it. I know players, coaches, everybody, what they train for, what they like to play is 5-on-5. So once you made the other team pay with a goal for their mistake or penalty, why not get back to 5-on-5? So I'm not saying we'll do it. I've not even discussed it with any GM. But to me, I know that you know where that rule comes from. You do remember. It's because of the Montreal Canadiens. They were so strong in the 50s, I think it was the 50s or 60s. They used to score 2-3 goals.
Okay.
So there was and then it came back so that's where it came from. So we'll see. But there's many ways to treat that. Also a 5-minute penalty, and I mean every year those are rules that to me the way I think, I don't mind reviewing those. Those to me are not ongoing discussions, or it's evolving with times. You'll get a bunch of GMs that think differently at the same time. Then 10 years later, it's different. So different commissioner. So anything that, and I'll ultimately feed back if we get data that says that the fan would like it that way. I mean that's an impact that doesn't favor any team, and favors in a way what we don't want to happen is always the unintended consequences of having less or more penalties for some other reason, because unintended means you have not figured it out before it happens. So we would have to look into it, but to look into it, definitely not against it.
Just one more, because I know you got a very busy schedule for you. So obviously the marquee event, aside from the prospects game, is the draft. It's a one-day event. Has there been any thoughts to like the NFL, where you said you're looking to other leagues and other stuff? The NFL, where they do the round one marquee event on a Friday night, put it on the CHL TV, and then they have the rest of the draft on the Saturday.
Pay attention to the coming weeks of when we publish the schedule. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe some breaking news there. You never know.
All right. Well, I know you have a very busy schedule. We appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.